Your boss at Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, his crusade for the reintroduction of five subs. I mean, where do you stand with this, Trevor? Pep is really pushing hard for this. Of course, at the moment, it's a traditional three subs in all competition. But he's very strong in it. All around the world, he says, we have five subs. We have three here. This is ridiculous. This is why there are injuries. Every 3 days, game without no preparation, no pre-season. Maybe one day, big bosses will explain why this happens. Why does it happen?
I have no idea. I mean, I think it's detrimental to our teams when they're playing in Europe. Because they're playing against teams that can have five substitutions. So straight away, our lads are in the red zone more than theirs because they've been able to make more substitutions. It's obvious Manchester City have got a great squad, and everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, it's because they've got the better squad and they can change half the team. Yeah, I get that. And
that is true.
Which is true.
Yeah.
All right, improve your squads. But what I would say is, going back to the facts of this is, players don't get a proper pre-season because of the Euros. They're in the red zone. They've not got the time to do the strength and conditioning. The managers are moaning they've not got time to do shape because players will play on a Wednesday. They'll then do the day recovery where they're in the pool and getting all the recovery in. Then they come in on the Thursday, on the Friday, and they're preparing for the next game. As in, they'll be doing set pieces, very light session. They've not got time to do the work. Now, I feel they've made this decision in Europe and the rest of the world to make five substitutions for a reason. Players do a lot more running. They're expected to do a lot more running in games now. The levels that players put out onto the pitch is a lot higher. So they need the recovery, they need rest. And if they're going to go in and play 3 games a week and expect to play 3 games a week, there's definitely going to be injuries.
So even though he's the City boss and you're somewhat biased,
this is not just about, listen, he's got a relationship with his players as every manager in the league.
Right.
A relationship. I think...
You think he should be brought back in?
100%. 100%.
But let me ask you, when you played it with 3 subs, Trev, maybe one was a goalkeeper, did you constantly finish games with 10 men? Or did you regularly finish in a depleted fashion?
100%. And that's why you pick up a lot of muscular injuries. And it's easy for people to say, oh, yeah, you know, Manchester City have got 2 great players in each position. Of course they're going to want this rule change. I get that. And there is a part of that where Pep's got the competitive side to him and he wants to have this brought in because it will give him a better chance to compete in all the competitions we're in. But let's just think about the players.
5 subs, even though it's Pep and Trevor's gives it a thumbs up, I mean, it's not just because it's
statistically,
Pep.
He doesn't deploy the use of 5 subs. He doesn't even deploy the use of 3 subs. So he kind of diffuses his own argument. But he's absolutely right. He's not right to want this in the League Cup, but he's right to have this in domestic football because it's a disadvantage. If you're talking about playing in Europe, if you're talking about every other European league having this situation, I don't understand why we would want to row upstream as a Premier League. The only difficulty is perhaps these big 6 clubs, if they played a bit nicer with the other 14 clubs in the league, they might be able to get these rule changes through because it requires the other 14 clubs to want to go with it. And the challenge is maybe...
8 of them.
No, it requires you've got to get a quorum of 14. So there's 20 plus 8. That's not 22 teams in the league, is there, Magoo? There's 20 teams in the league, right? Going to the point of the Spanish league and of the Italian leagues, they must have a different configuration amongst their teams to suggest that they are all the teams that are lesser in the league are happy to go to 5 subs. Because it does, to me, make no sense. I'm not interested in whether it's Man City or Pep Guardiola. I'm interested in the fairness of competition for our top league. And all leagues. In the League Cup, no, I don't think you get that privilege. I think you've got an elite squad of 25, 30 players. You've got an academy that probably half of those players would fit into League One sides or Championship sides. You don't need 5 substitutes in the League Cup, irrespective of whether you're dominating that cup every single year.
Why don't you, Simon? I'm not clear
because
on
I think that's unfair. I think that's a massively unfair advantage to the Premier League clubs.
Because the likes of City would have better subs to pick from.
Every team in the Premier League is going to have a much deeper squad than most of the teams making up the EFL Cup. Right, whether that's Championship. So
why don't we say the EFL and the FA Cup then? Because they're both much of a muchness.
Well, I mean, last year, am I right? Am I right that last year they allowed more substitutions the deeper into the tournament you got, the more competitive the opposition got?
And the Carabao Cup,
and that may well be, but ultimately then you're making the rules up on the fly, which is basically if then let's say you're a League One club that happens to be get to the semi-finals of a cup, you're then scuppered by the fact that Man City's powerhouse of a team can put on 5 heavily. It has to be balanced properly. So the argument where he sits, in my view, is in the Premier League, and I hate to be just focusing on the Premier League all the time because there's 3 other leagues outside of it. But in the Premier League, for Pep Guardiola, yes, he should have a parity with the other leagues in Europe. It's beyond the pale to suggest that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
They're playing in European
So there
tournaments.
you go. You're happy with that?
Absolutely, and I agree, and I think once you get to the latter stages, maybe the quarterfinals or the semi-finals, if it is all just Premier League teams,
But you can't make that rule up on the fly,
but
can you?
you can make it. You
can't make rules up on the fly.
You can amend the rule to say if it is all Premier League teams.
With the wind blows from the west, so we don't know what the draw is going to be.
No.
So we'll forecast that if it's only Premier League sides, and then there'll be arguing of what kind of Premier League sides are and how big the squad is. It's got to be one rule that everyone can understand. Otherwise, crying out loud, we can't even get people to follow the rules as they are.
Exactly.
Let alone ones that change every 5
And
minutes.
at the moment, to be fair, Simon, that's not the case because it's only here in Scotland the three sub rule applies.
Yeah.
In the league, so we should be listening to Guardiola on this occasion.
And why
we should entertain the idea.
and the Premier League and whoever it is made this decision?
But it's not. You're not listening to what I'm saying. There are 14 other clubs in that league
Yeah.
that need to vote through what the Big Six want. The Big Six want 5 subs. Klopp's in the same place. United are in the same place. Ask yourself why. It's not Richard Masters, it's not the Premier League as a body, it's the 20 clubs that are voting for a rule change.
For sure.
And they don't want it.
But
so you're saying if the relationship was better between the top 6 and the bottom
I'm
14,
asking the question, why wouldn't you, if you were Norwich, Crystal Palace, whoever else, Newcastle, why wouldn't you want to have 5 substitutes?
Are you saying they should want it?
Well, I'm saying there's an argument to suggest that if it's good for the 6 clubs at the top of the league, why wouldn't it be good for the 6 clubs at the bottom of the league? 5 subs
Exactly.
is 5 subs. If
Exactly.
you're getting injuries, you're getting injuries.
Exactly.
But they don't
might
want
not
it, do
have
they?
the same quality in substitutes.
But if
That's
their
what you're
players are
saying.
injured and depleted, those players are not playing in the next games. It's the same argument.
Yeah.
They lose their best players. Level of quality might be different. But
Yeah,
if
not
you're losing
playing
your
3
best
games a
player at
week.
Norwich or your best player at Palace, it's still important
They're
to
not
you.
playing in Europe. They're not playing it as a regular as the big teams, and
So
that's possibly why they're
that
not.
may well be
voting
the
with it.
argument. They don't want to advantage the top 6,
Yeah.
but the top 6 can't bring them with them.
But you're saying they should still go through with it because
They
it would
can't.
benefit them. It would benefit them. They should vote for it. The other 14, they should vote for it.
I'm suggesting there's no reason not to. Trevor
Well,
makes
you
a good
just said
case.
there's a reason. There's a reason. there.
Well, there's a good reason in terms of what the point that you're advancing, which is maybe that the European side, the teams in the top 6 are playing more European games.
Right.
But if I were there and my manager wanted to have 5 subs, I wouldn't be sitting in a Premier League meeting saying I'm against that.
Got you.
I'd be going with a manager.
Got you.
So it's the managers that mustn't want it.
Good point, Simon. So is it time for this to change in the Premier League? Pep's pushing for it in the Carabao Cup, but in the Premier League, surely the rule should apply. Is it time for 5 and no longer 3 substitutes in a game?